For episode 6 of season 3, we'll be featuring stories surrounding Obon, Nichi Bei BookFest, Nichi Bei News Summer Book Review, and a summary of one of our most successful Soy and Tofu festivals. For our pastry selection, we'll be serving a summary of this year's 12th Northern California's Soy and Tofu Festival. Our salad selection will feature authors from our upcoming Nichi Bei News Summer Book Review. For our chef special, we get an opportunity to learn about how Japanese Americans came to celebrate Obon in their own special way. And for dessert, our contributing writer Ryan Tatsumoto, the Gochiso Gourmet, shares a drink that you can make at home. And of course, stick around to be treated to some news bites of happenings in our Japanese and Japanese American community. And finally, we end the program tonight with tips of events that are coming up in the next month and beyond. So without further delay, let's start the cafe. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us and welcome back to episode 6 of season 3 of the Nichi Bei Cafe. Before we start, we have a special message from our producer Greg, who's always cooking up something special. So here's to Greg.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us and welcome back to episode 6 of season 3 of the Nichi Bei Cafe. As always, another season of this show is brought to you by the Nichi Bei Foundation and Nichi Bei News through the benevolence of the Henry and Tomoe Takahashi Charitable Foundation. If you enjoy what we're doing here at the cafe, please be sure to leave a like on this video, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook so you can be notified when new content hits our channel. Now back to Ryan.
Special thanks to Greg, or Virtual Greg, or AI Greg, whatever his pronouns are, we're with it because it's, 21st century. Starting off with our pastry selection tonight, we serve up some highlights from our 12th Northern California Soy and Tofu Festival. Please enjoy. special thanks to Greg for that story. This festival was held in the Event Center at St. Mary's Cathedral for the first time this year since 2019. It was a lot of fun to plan, and we want to thank all of our committee members, entertainment, vendors, sponsors, and of course all who attended to make this event not only possible but successful as well. It's now time for our salad. We feature some of our authors that will be highlighted in our annual summer book review and first ever Nichi Bei Book Fest to be held on Saturday, July 27th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Koho Co-Creative Hub in San Francisco's Japantown. Please enjoy our salad mix today.
Summer. It's time to relax and read books. We present a series of authors and their books from the upcoming Nichi Bei News Summer Book Review and the Nichi Bei Book Fest. First up, we introduce to you Frank Abe, co-editor with Floyd Chung of the book The Literature of Japanese American Incarceration.
I'm Frank Abe, and I'm a writer in Seattle. I'm also co-editor with Floyd Chung of a new anthology from Penguin Classics called Literature of Japanese American Incarceration. We define literature in this volume as not just fine writing, fine quality poetry and short stories, but Floyd said that literature could be any piece of writing from done by those in camps. As a result, we include nonfiction drawn from essays, memoirs, and letters, even songs. We have two songs, lyrics from two songs in here. And so, this opens up the door to a range of material that I've collected over the years as having some special quality. And in fact, a lot of the selections are drawn from the bookshelf behind me. So this book is for a modern audience. It's a trade paperback. In that regard, it's a book for everyone. It's for the general reader who will get a roadmap to the arc of the camp experience, and think for things that confuse them, or they can look in here and see how things all fit together from start to finish. It's for the classroom, presented in bite-sized pieces, so that educators can supplement with their own favorite books and films and localized stories. And of course, it's for a Japanese American audience who will find it who've told me that they find it to be a page turner. That once they open it up, they can't stop reading because of the narrative drive from one selection to the next, and how things all seem to fit together, maybe for the first time.
Next up, we present Greg Robinson, co-author with Jonathan von Harmelen on their book, The Unknown Great.
Hello, I'm Greg Robinson. I'm a contributing editor at the Nichi Bei News. My column is called The Great Unknown and the Unknown Great. But in this case, I'm an author with Jonathan van Harmelen of the book The Unknown Great, about marginal Japanese American stories and Japanese American stories at the margins of history. This book is a collection of portraits of interesting but unknown people in Japanese American history, not necessarily themselves Japanese Americans, though most of them are. And what it really is a counter history of Japanese Americans in one volume. That is, the stories, apart from being interesting and fun to read in themselves, break with myths about Japanese Americans, that Japanese Americans all lived on the West Coast. They were all farmers and fishermen. They were not politically active, that their stories ended with the camps. In our case, Jonathan and I have found stories of Japanese Americans who lived in the East Coast and in Europe and who traveled the world, about Japanese American involvement with African Americans. For example, portraits of African Americans in Japanese American literature. It's the subject of one of the stories that I wrote with Brian Nia. There's stuff on lesbian and gay Japanese Americans, which challenge the idea that Japanese Americans were all in nuclear families and there were no gay Japanese Americans. In fact, lesbians and gays have always been part of Japanese communities. Then there's the encounters between Japanese Americans and religious groups, the Mennonites, the Latter-day Saints, the Catholics. For example, there's a fascinating story that I wrote together with Mathieu Langlois on the writer Hisai Yamamoto and the writing that she did for Dorothy Day's Catholic Worker Movement in the Catholic Worker newspaper. There's also a section on mixed-race Japanese Americans. There's a section on Japanese Americans and classical music and the theater. There are all sorts of information that will challenge and excite people. And so I hope you'll read it.
Next, we present Sam Nakahira, author of the graphic novel Ruth Asawa, An Artist Takes Shape.
Oh, hi, I'm Sam Nakahira. I'm a comic artist and illustrator from Southern California. So I make a lot of comics around Japanese American history, also like mythology and the natural world. I also contribute comics to the Nichi Bei News for their monthly issues. And I also wanted to introduce my graphic novel, Ruth Asawa, An Artist Takes Shape, which was published by the Getty and Abrams Books in March 2024. So my graphic novel, Ruth Asawa, An Artist Takes Shape, is a comic about Ruth Asawa, who is a Japanese-American artist. She grew up in Norwalk, California, but then eventually moved to San Francisco, where she spent most of her life. But she's very well known for her wire sculptures. So the book kind of captures like her early life from when she was 16 years old to around 25 years old. And I think it covers kind of like a relatively lesser known period of her life where at 16 years old she was incarcerated in the Japanese American incarceration camps during World War II. I think also some people don't know, but she grew up in a farming family in Norwalk, and her parents were immigrants. She's very related to Japanese American history in California, where a lot of recent immigrants during like the late 1800s, early 1900s worked on farms or worked with their hands in like gardening. But yeah, I hope one of the takeaways from the book, I think, is just hoping that people learn more about her story and get interested in her as an artist. I think because she's just a really cool person, I think. Also a cool artist and someone I really admire. I think one of my favorite sayings from her, or favorite quotes, is line could go anywhere. And when she was saying that quote, she was actually using it to describe like wire sculptures. But for me, I also think it kind of reflects like a lot of her life choices where she was really like not afraid to do things that other people maybe thought were less appealing, like career choices and things like that. But she was like very brave, and I feel like she really knew what she wanted in life sometimes, even if it was different from what others thought. Sorry, I just wanted to thank the Ruth Asawa family and also Ruth Asawa Lanier Inc., especially Vivian Tong, the historian, for finding so many like documents and photos for me. Also, thank you especially to Addie Lanier for sharing her stories about her mother, and also Henry Weaverka for also like providing a lot of editorial feedback and just support for the project in general. I really appreciate it. I feel like the book could not have really come together without all of them. Yeah, and thank you also to the Getty, my editors and publishers.
Next, we introduce Wendy Yamashita, author of Carceral Entanglements.
My name is Wendy Yamashita. I am an assistant professor at Sac State teaching in ethnic studies, and I am the author of Carceral Entanglements, Gendered Public Memories of Japanese American World War II Incarceration. And my book is important or significant to the Japanese American community because I'm really thinking about the ways in which we, in this moment, are remembering World War II. What are our practices of that? So I look at different sites of memory. I'm looking at museums, I'm looking at digital archives, I'm looking at pilgrimages, and I'm looking at student plays. And so what I'm really trying to think about is thinking through how Japanese Americans remember the past in relationship to other communities of color, especially thinking about relational organizing. And I'm really interested in the specific location of Japanese Americans in a racialized hierarchy. Thank you so much for your interest in my book. Please come out to the Nichi Bei Book Fair, and it will be great to see you all.
Next, we present Art Hansen on his book Nikkei Harvest, reviewing the Japanese American historical experience and its legacy. Interviewed by author Naomi Hirahara, originally aired on the Nichi Bei Day of Giving.
So, Art, I know that Nikkei Harvest also includes reviews by Mr. Maeda, but can you give us kind of an overview of the content of the book as well as how these reviews were organized?
I've divided it into 9 categories. One of them focuses on people, particularly, the individuals. The next group of reviews deal with the Japanese American family. The next group of reviews deals with the Japanese American community, the history of the community and the history of the family, etc. The next section of the book deals with Japanese American arts of all sorts. The next section deals with the World War II Japanese American incarceration camps. The next section deals with the World War II Japanese American resistance activity. The next section deals with the Asian American movement. The next section deals with the Japanese American redress movement. And the final chapter deals with the international Nikkei community. So you get a very full picture of the entire Japanese American experience through these different sections. And I think each of the essays are quite important in and of themselves. They're not just adjuncts to the reviews. They really have a standalone value.
We invite you to pick up a copy of the Nichi Bei News Special Summer Book Review Edition and look in depth into these books, and also check out the Nichi Bei Book Fest on July 27th, 2024 at SF Japantown's Koho Co-Creative Hub located on Post Street next to the Hotel Kabuki on the second floor of the Japan Center East Mall. This is Greg Valoria for the Nichi Bei Cafe.
A special thank you to the authors, and we hope to see you at the Nichi Bei Book Fest on July 27th. Okay guys, it's time for our chef special. We interview Jane Naito and Win Kiyama, co-curators of the new exhibit American Bon Odori, Dancing in Joy and Remembrance. This exhibit covers some interesting historic panels, rare footage, and artifacts from the inception of the American Bon Odori. Please enjoy our chef special. Ittadakimasu.
We talked to Dr. Win Kiyama and Jane Naito about a new exhibit kicking off the Obon season in the San Francisco Bay Area called American Bon Odori, Dancing in Joy and Remembrance. Dr. Win Kiyama explains his interest in documenting this exhibit's intersection of spiritual and Japanese American cultural themes.
I've been a lifelong fan of Obon and Obon dance, and I grew up in San Jose, and so there's a big community of Japanese American Buddhists there and a large temple. And so that's where I first experienced Obon and Bon Odori, or Obon dance. I started to talk with Reiko Iwanaga because of her father-in-law, Reverend Yoshio Iwanaga. From there, we started doing different projects together that documented his life and the early history of Bon Odori in the continental United States. And that's when we teamed with Yumi Hata to do these kinds of preservation and documentation projects.
Jane Naito co-curator of the exhibit, talks about the creation of the exhibit. Jade has roots back to her grandmother, Teruko Naito, who along with Reverends Yoshio Iwanaga and Masao Washioka, who were early pioneers of Bon Odori here in the continental United States.
Well, it comes as how American Obon came to America, right? How Bon Odori came to America. It talks about how it, why it first started, how Obon dance started, the cultural aspect of it, the Buddhist aspect of it, and then also talks about how it came, in the 1930s from Hawaii. It started in Hawaii, and then it came to the U.S., and then it brings you all the way until modern day, Obon dance through the camp, pre and post. Well, I helped Professor Dr. Win Kiyama put together the exhibit since he's in Hawaii. He asked me to kind of help out locally to kind of put it together, do all the manpower, I guess. We asked, I'm on the Bay District Council, so I asked the Bay District Council members to please, ask their members to send items in. I also contacted a lot of the Buddhist churches in the Bay Area and asked them for things that they could loan me. Some of them sent me photographs of what they had. Some brought over physical items, and we kind of, picked and choose. So like, for example, the lanterns are from BCSF. Some of the getas and uchiwas are from various Buddhist temples, posters, things like that.
Win talks briefly about the historic timeline of Bon Odori in Japan and here in the continental United States.
So the story of Obon dance in the continental United States begins in the 1930s, and that's primarily with Reverend Yoshio Iwanaga, but also other figures like Teruko Naito, who is the grandmother of Jane Naito, and Reverend Masao Washioka. All of them were working in the early 1930s and spreading Bon Odori to different West Coast communities. And the 1930s was a really robust time for Obon and Bon Odori. Also in Japan, you see new Bon Odori music being produced. So Tokyo Ondo, which is still a perennial favorite, was released in 1933, and this kind of heralded a boom of new Bon Odori music. 1930s, you see people playing taiko for Obon dancing. You see people masquerading in different communities in the dance circle, or dressed as samurai or geisha. With World War II, of course, the history of Japanese in Americas reaches that pivotal moment where Japanese and Japanese Americans were incarcerated in concentration camps. And in researching the way that people lived and what they celebrated and spent time on in the camps, I was able to look at Bon Odori, not only as a Buddhist activity primarily, but also for the larger community of Japanese Christians and unaffiliated Japanese all in the camps. It looks like Bon Odori happened in around half of the euphemistically called assembly centers, the temporary detention centers, and then all 10 of the War Relocation Authority camps, as well as some of the other camps that we don't often hear about, those administered by the Department of Justice, like the Santa Fe internment camp.
Win shares his excitement of how Bon Odori is being adopted in contemporary times.
So even though it has roots in Buddhism, it's the kind of memorial that everyone can participate in. And most folks who practice Bon Odori say the same thing about the dance. This is for everyone to celebrate and to remember those who have passed before us. So at this moment, I find it very exciting to be a Bon dance fan because Bon Odori is being danced by a larger community than we've seen in its history, and I'm excited to see where it goes in the next 125 years.
This commemorative cultural arts series is presented by the American Bon Consortium, at the National Japanese American Historical Society's Peace Gallery in San Francisco's Japantown now through September 30th, 2024. It is open to the public from Monday through Friday, noon to 5 p.m., and for Saturdays. Admission is free. This is Greg Valoria for Tomo Hirai for the Nichi Bei Cafe.
A big thanks to Jane and Win for the interview, and we hope that you can visit the Ninjas or NJAHS gallery to see the exhibit. In this next segment, Ryan Tatsumoto, the Gochiso Gourmet, is back to teach us a new cocktail you can make from home.
Hi, it's Ryan Tatsumoto, the Gochiso Gourmet, coming to you with another cocktail session where it's always 5 p.m. Today's cocktail is a variant of one of my favorite libations. It's called the Negroni. The Negroni is basically equal parts of the bitter red liqueur, Campari, gin, and sweet vermouth. However, there's a lot of variants out there that mixologists create. Basically, all you need is a base liqueur. It's usually gin, but sometimes they use bourbon or tequila, mezcal, rye. And it also requires some sweet component, usually in the form of a sweet vermouth, and a bitter component, the Campari. In today's version, I'm making what's called an apple Negroni. So with the apple Negroni, we add a little bit of apple brandy to the mix, plus the sweet artichoke-based liqueur Cynar. So to start it off with this cocktail, we use gin. I'm using my favorite gin right here, one of my favorites. I have multiple favorites, but the Nole gin, you can find it at most gourmet liquor stores, and here in Hawaii, you can also find it at Long's and Times Supermarket, Safeway, etc. I thought it was made in France originally because it's Nole. It's actually made in Holland. So we'll start off with about 1.5 ounces of this. The next liqueur, because it's an apple Negroni, is an apple brandy. You can go one of two routes. Currently, I have this Calvados, which is a French apple brandy. I've had it for quite a number of years. That's why the labels actually didn't set out brown. It's brown because of the years that it's been in storage. If you can't find Calvados, you can also use Applejack. Applejack is made in the US. It's same thing, an apple brandy that's mixed with neutral spirits. The Applejack tends to give it a little more of that fresh apple quality, whereas because the base of the Calvados is a brandy or cognac, it's a richer flavor. So we'll use 3/4 ounces of this. For the bitter component, Campari. I'm sure you've seen other videos I've had before. It's the Ripple Campari in Italy makes this. It's made with bitter oranges and a bunch of proprietary herbs. More on the bitter side. This is just a 1/2 ounce. And finally, we're using another bitter, or Amaro, which is Cynar, which is an artichoke-based liqueur. It has like this caramel sweetness. It doesn't really taste like artichokes. The artichoke just gives it that slight bitter edge to it. And with this is also just a 1/2 ounce. Stir it until the drink is chilled. It also dilutes it a little, takes a little off of that alcohol edge. And I'll strain it into my cocktail glass with my solid sphere of ice. Because the sphere is round, it actually blocks the bottom, so I'm just trying to release the air that's trapped underneath. Otherwise, if I take a sip, it might make a rude noise and you mistaken coming from me. It's coming from the drink. And finally, because this is an apple Negroni, I'm going to garnish with little apple slices on a little skewer. So again, this is the apple Negroni. I'm the Gochiso Gourmet. Kampai!
Many thanks to Ryan for yet another creative drink mix. Next up, we share some noteworthy stories from the community news files. So director, let's roll the news bites, please. Roll them.
Next is our news bites, highlighting events over the past month or so, including stories from the pages of the Nichi Bei News. Let's roll the news bites, please.
So let's roll the news bites. The news bites rolling. Lotus Preschool, the Japanese American Museum of San Jose, and UI Kai held their Undokai Japantown Sports Festival June 8th just outside the Akiyama Wellness Center. Attendees of all ages played Japanese cultural games that school children in Japan typically play, as well as other American classics. The games included a spoon egg race, a variation of basketball, and water balloon toss. This fun and engaging event featured Japanese cultural games typically played by school children all over Japan, combined with American classics right in the heart of San Jose Japantown and modified for all ages. Prizes were also given after each game. Chicago Cubs rookie sensation Shota Imanaga and fellow Japanese ballplayer Seiya Suzuki paid a visit to San Francisco's Oracle Park June 27th to take on the home team Giants. Both contributed to the 5-3 10-inning victory by the Cubs. Imanaga had a quality start without figuring in a decision, and Seiya Suzuki hit an RBI triple as the Chicago Cubs beat the San Francisco Giants 5-3 after 10 innings on June 27th, ending their 4-game skid. Imanaga allowed all his 3 runs in the 6th inning that tied the game at Oracle Park, where he otherwise had a solid 93-pitch effort, giving up 5 hits and 2 walks. A National League Rookie of the Year candidate, Imanaga remained with a 7-2 record. The much anticipated Obon season got underway this past season with Obon festivals in Berkeley, Sacramento, and San Jose's Japantown. Dancers and visitors converged upon Buddhist churches to pay respect to ancestors and those who have departed with a celebration of dance, while participating in the various fundraising efforts for the churches. For a complete list of Obon and summer festivals across the country, see the Nichi Bei News annual Obon and Summer Festivals Guide. Every summer we feature listings of Obon and summer festivals from Hawaii to New York, as well as various feature stories related to the festival season. For more up-to-date news like this, be sure to subscribe to the Nichi Bei News, carrying on a legacy of 125 years of community leadership through media at www.nichibei.org/subscribe. Well everyone, thank you so much for joining us for our 6th episode of Season 3 featuring stories surrounding Obon and our summer book review. We hope that you enjoyed what we and of course all of our featured chefs cooked up for the cafe menu today. A lot of things are happening in the community this summer. Next up we will present a calendar of upcoming events, but first we would like to thank everyone for continuing to support our YouTube channel and hope you enjoy our future content featuring our Japanese and Japanese American community. So please continue to support us by telling your friends, family, loved ones, pets, uncles, and aunts to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that they don't miss a single episode of our program, as well as video segments from the show and other special videos in between. To stay in the know of more happenings in the Japanese American community, please subscribe to the Nichi Bei News at www.nichibei.org/subscribe to make sure you don't miss a single issue. And at this point, we want to say a big thanks to the Henry and Tomoya Takahashi Charitable Foundation for their continued support of the cafe. We greatly appreciate our collaboration with you in finding new ways to engage with our Nikkei community. So that said, let's end this month's segment with tips, which will include our community calendar. Thanks again for joining us at the Nichi Bei Cafe. Join your friends in the Japanese and Japanese American community for Nichi Bei Days with the A's as the Athletics take on Japanese superstar Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers from Friday, August 2nd through Sunday, August 4th, 2024 at the Oakland Coliseum. Join hundreds in the community cheering on the home team and reigning American League MVP Ohtani. Joining Ohtani on the Dodgers is rookie pitching sensation Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Discounted tickets and special events are as follows. Lower box seats will be available for purchase for $90 on Friday and Saturday and $85 on Sunday. Field reserve tickets will be available for purchase for $85 on Friday and Saturday and $70 on Sunday. There will also be a fireworks showcase after Saturday's game and a tailgate party before Sunday's game from 10:30 a.m. A portion of the ticket proceeds will benefit the Nichi Bei Foundation, publishers of the Nichi Bei News Japanese American community newspaper and presenter of various educational programs and events. For more information and tickets, please visit www.nichibei.org/athletics.